everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faye Mac, and this is another episode of Faye Mac Live. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for clicking on this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Okay, I'm very happy to have you guys here. So yeah, it is time, and you guys know that I have a guest today, and you can see him, Abimbola, IT guru.
I'm just a small boy.
So they do. But yeah, today we're going to get into all the gist of the IT industry here, how to break through. We're going to hear Abimbola's immigration and career story, and we're also going to announce the winners of the IELTS sponsorship. I'm actually going to drop one of the names now, and I'm going to be dropping the names at intervals in between questions to the end of the video. So you guys, first of all, there's something you need to know. Selecting just 8 people for this was very tough. I told you guys I was going to use a random app. I did, a random picker app I did, and in fact, just choosing 8 people alone was tough. But you guys, forgive me. If you're not selected, forgive me. Please. I can actually hear an echo. Abimbola, do you think that's from you?
No.
Can you guys
I muted the other mic.
Okay. Can you guys hear an echo or no?
I can't hear any echo.
Okay, good. So I'm just going to announce the first winner of the IELTS giveaway, and the name is Bukumi Adebanjo. So I've already dropped you a comment, so just send me a message on Instagram or Twitter and we will talk. Okay, so Abimbola, please. Actually, there is an echo. Hold on, let me see if I can fix anything. I don't know why there's an echo. I don't know, you guys. I'm not exactly. If Abimbola was in a tech guy, he would have helped me fix it.
Oh, someone did say there's an echo.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that bad. Is it that bad? Can we go on with you guys? Let me know. Is the echo that bad?
Let me see what I can do from here.
Okay. All right. So, Abimbola, we'll go ahead with your introduction. So tell us about yourself. First of all, who are you? Who are you, Abimbola? Tell us.
I'm just a small boy that lives down the road. Anyway, well, you can call me Abby for short. If Abimbola is a mouthful, you can call me Bimbo. Although that's reserved for those who know me personally. But my journey started in 2011 into the IT world. I consider myself a champion to a voice of quality, a champion to solutions. This journey started back in 2011 when I made my way into IT. I kind of forced my way into IT. I was at the crossroad. I wasn't sure what to do. And an opportunity came knocking through a company that I joined back then as a contractor. And from being a contract staff, 3 years later, I became a permanent employee with that organization. And it's been way up from there. You know my story. I studied mass communication, and everything I know about IT today is self-taught. It was not. It was until I got to Canada that I decided to okay, let me consolidate on the experience I have by going to a proper college. But at the end of the day, I found out that I knew more than what they were offering at that college, and yeah, that's it. For my 9 to 5, what people would say cybersecurity specialist is what I do, but my niche, my specialty is in application security, and I pride myself as one who regularly research security vulnerabilities so as to make application design secure from that stage. Many of the vulnerabilities that you find today is usually because companies would want to bolt on security after the application has been released, rather than making security as part of the process. So that's my job, and I preach secure by design. That's the gospel that I carry around. Every other person usually would do network security, what's it called, IAM, identity and access management. But I have chosen application security because I worked my way from being QA to performance testing and now application security. And I think I found the career path, so no changes for me from now on, only way up. I'm at the point where I'm choosing, or I've decided that I'll become a solution security specialist architect, um, and stop at that rather than becoming, because after that is CISO. But I'm intentionally stopping at that point because I don't want, when there's a breach within an organization, it's the CISO that goes first. So
Mm.
that's strategic on my part. I'm just stopping
Right.
at that point. Yeah.
Right.
So that's a brief intro about me.
Okay, so yeah, you guys heard that. Masscom, like me, that studied masscom, to IT. And to be honest, like Abimbola is somebody that I really admire because he's talking now, he's making this, he said he's a small boy. Abimbola is a big boy in Toronto, okay? Like he taught himself IT and then he's doing very well. Like he's doing very well in the field here. So we're going to get into the things that you did that helped position you better for the Canadian market. Because I know in the beginning it wasn't like that. It
No,
was
it
very
wasn't.
tough for you to break in the beginning. But we'll
Yeah.
talk about that. So why did you choose to come to Canada? First of all, like why did you choose to relocate and why Canada?
Uh, if I'm going to be really honest, deep down, it was because of free healthcare. And I'm being factual because I hate going to hospitals, and out of that hatred, it was like, oh, okay, if I'm going to go to a hospital, it's best that I know that I'm getting the best out of that system. So, other than free healthcare, it was a case of the opportunities in terms of jobs and what else? Maybe the scenery, but top on the list for me was the free healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay,
Yeah,
that's amazing. So when did you move and what pathway did you use to come here?
2018. Actually, my journey started in 2015
Okay.
when the express entry first was made official. Before then, it was paper based, and I was trying to decide whether Canada was the right choice for me. And eventually I chose Canada. And over time, what's the big part of your question?
Um,
Express entry.
express entry, yeah.
Express entry, yes, I
How did
remember.
the application take?
Mm, from the point I submitted,
Yeah,
from when I submitted, it was 6 months exactly on the dot.
exactly. Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
but the backstory and context to that, and I'm sure this would help viewers of this channel, is try as much as possible to do the process by yourself.
Mm,
When I first started, and it was part of the reason why I was not here earlier, I sold my car to pay. I'm not going to mention their name because they're really popular.
mm,
One of the top forums that many people know.
mm,
The guys behind that forum also run an immigration consultancy. What's it called? Firm, and I used them. And one of the things that I noticed was they did not provide all of the information required to get her ahead. It was like they're intentionally suppressing information so
mm,
that you continue to rely on them.
mm,
And it was not until I decided, or I had already spent all of the money I had. I sold my car, sold things I could put together. Most of my salary back then went into getting this sorted out. It was, and I was really sad and depressed at that point.
Hmm.
And it was not until I decided to start to know the process for myself. That's when it started to take shape. So from when I did decide, it was in 2017 that I think it's time for me to do the what's it called by myself. This was when my score back then was 428,
Hmm.
and I did just
428.
bachelor's.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, see.
I did just bachelor's, and the cutoff was 426.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if there's anyone that should be in Canada, it should not be me, because
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
number of trouble that I experienced trying to put my documents together was enough to
To
discourage
discourage you, but you
the
kept
average
going.
the average Joe. But I persevered, and I felt like at this point it was either Canada or bust.
Hmm.
This was even before Canada started to like come into the limelight. And thankfully, I met a colleague of mine back then in the office, and he was like, "Oh, why did you have to pay an immigration consultant? You could have done this by yourself." And when I was at that course, okay, so what the immigration consultant did was, they did not they came across as if to say that you did not need words. All you just needed to do was submit, and that was it. That was the assumption on my part, and they did not make it clear.
Hmm.
So the contract I had with them expired, and I was like, oh, so what's next from this point? And he was like, oh, before you can talk to us again, you need to pay another. I think it was $3,000 then. I remember Jonathan. Jonathan was still the president all of this time when I was trying to sort out all of this, and I was really sad because they said they were sharing dollars and all of that, and I'll be at MPA back then. I'll be thinking, can't they just drop some dollars in my laps? And I was like, oh
You guys have to be very careful with immigration consultants. Like, you guys listening, always make sure that whoever you're dealing with, if you have to use an immigration consultant, comes referred. Like, use someone that's referred. If you can't do it yourself, through like my videos and so many other platforms out there that are there to give you free information, and you need somebody to guide you, make sure first of all that it's a professional, and make sure that the person is, it comes recommended.
no.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what is your greatest lesson so far about your move to Canada?
I think I moved at the right time. Nothing could have been more appropriate at that point in time.
Mm.
And in retrospect, thinking about it, greatest lesson. Maybe if I had found out that I could have done this myself
Yeah.
earlier, I probably would have gained more grounds here. But again, I think when I moved was appropriate.
Okay.
So on a lighter side, one thing I've learned since I moved to Canada and is currently still being a handyman. You have to do everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that
You guys, Abimbola is the king of DIY. Oh. You guys, if you want to paint your house, just call Abimbola.
you
You do
need
anything as in
you need to see the
work.
number of tools I have.
Ah. Hmm.
So
Makes sense.
yeah,
Makes
DIY is one thing I've learned.
Yes. So I guess my next question would be, what is the toughest part about being a new immigrant in Canada, being Nigerian in Canada? What are the challenges that come with that?
I think that's a good question, but again, there are two sides to that. Being an immigrant in Nigeria, from Nigeria in Canada, comes with its own burdens. There are already stereotypes.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing that you can do for yourself is not to leave or carry that stereotype with you.
Hmm.
It has become imperative to be able to define our own narratives, just like what we are doing with the NSAS movement, what Nigerians are doing back home with the NSAS movement. whether we like it or not, these are personal battles, these are struggles that we go through as an immigrant in Canada from Nigeria. You enter a place and they are able to identify you by your accent and you're like, Nigeria? Yeah. And or if they are not able to say where are you from, I would say I used to say I'm from Brampton. So that you would not judge me because I'm a Nigerian. So once I get comfortable with you, I start to show off the fact that I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian. I'm not as loud as the average Joe in Nigeria because that's not my nature. We're all different. But generalizing and saying all Nigerians are loud, and for the purpose of this, what's it called? Answer. That's why I'm using loud. But
Mm-hmm.
I would not agree or try to fit every Nigerian into that stereotype. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the toughest thing is one of the toughest parts is being able to break away from the Nigerian narrative and set myself apart. And it's something I'm continually working on doing every day, being able to also define what a Nigerian immigrant is in Canada is also important and it's something I take to heart. As someone who is this tall, it comes with its own stereotype.
Please tell us how tall you are so that they can understand.
I refrain from going out as much because not because I don't want to, not because I don't want to be a part of those things, but when you listen to the news, you say, "Oh, suspect is 6 feet." Something
Six
like
foot four, 6'5",
exactly like, oh my
they're
god.
describing you, right?
So I'm like, oh no, not again. And
Mm.
I've been in situations where just by walking past someone, you'd be like, oh,
Mm.
you'd be like, wow.
They're scared. Mm.
Exactly. So
But they head.
those are the kind of stereotypes I've come to understand and say, oh, they don't know any better. So um, in trying to, as much as school them, you also have to be proper in terms of behavior. Once you get comfortable with the person, then you can show yourself as
Mm-hmm.
the Nigerian that you are.
Right. Okay, so now let's go into, well, even before we do that, let me actually like mention another winner just because I know people are waiting for that. So the second winner, this person has strong head because the person won the round one of the giveaway as well, and it's Fatima Lawal. Congrats! Like anybody that's come to my channel, I'm sure they've seen her name in all the comments. Congrats, you really deserve it. This is one person I'm super happy that you're winning this. So congrats, Fatima Lawal. Send me a DM ahead. So my next question is, how easy or difficult was it to get your first job?
Hmm. Good question. And it's relative to each individual. I like to consider myself as someone who is driven. Uh, but to start to provide answer to that question, I need to give you a bit of context.
Mm.
In in migrating to Canada, the people you associate with when you first land is really important. If you I don't know how to say this and be politically correct, but I will be blunt. If you fall into that category of people who did not come in legally, or you get to uh, be surrounded by those kind of people, they would influence the kind of decisions you make. They would influence the kind of thoughts that you have. You would hear stuff like, "Oh, that job is out of reach for you. You can never do it. You should start from the factory." In
Mm.
fact, we don't think that IT is your way or HR or you should even go to school. Everybody starts from the factory.
Mm.
Everybody starts from the warehouse. Everybody starts from McDonald's or
Mm.
no, it's not McDonald's. McDonald's. That's what they call it. Everyone starts from that minimum wage kind of cadre.
Mm.
But in all sincerity, I would say categorically, and I'm speaking from the point of someone who actually fell into that kind of line of thought, they're wrong. They
Yeah.
are very wrong.
Yeah.
As much as you are driven, as much as you are someone who have goals, who can be motivated with the right words, you don't need to work the minimum wage jobs. In fact, you as an immigrant, you have the upper hand coming into Canada because you're already qualified. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't do that kind of job or you can't have that kind of aspiration. Live this kind of life first and then see where it goes from there. When I first came in, I worked in the warehouse, like, was it yeah, warehouse for Amazon, but it wasn't Amazon, it was a third party warehouse. It's called
Hmm.
SCI Logistics. And within the first day, within hours of being at that place, I knew that was not the place for me to be. It was just because I felt pressure to get a job, to get my life started. I landed in August, I think August 2nd, and by August 5th, I was already in the warehouse.
Uh-uh.
What is pursuing you?
What happened?
Exactly. Exactly. It's the same question I have for myself. What's happening? So after that, I took. So I worked there for I think a week. So a week in that warehouse is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Monday to Thursday, you are just wasted because it's a 12-hour shift. You're on your feet. You
12
can't
hours
sit.
on
You
your
can't
feet.
sit down, and you're wearing steel-toed boots. So you can imagine the mental toll that must have taken on an individual. Talk less of someone who is just new to the country. You'll be like, wow. Permit me to say this in Yoruba. You say, wow, òótọ́ ni o, ìlú òyìnbó le o. It's true. The white man land is really difficult to be in. But again, it was because of the kind of thoughts I was listening to, the kind of talks I was hearing, and I eventually gave into that. After doing that for two 2 weeks, I left the job and I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. This is not for me. I don't envision myself here. And no, I did it for 1 week. I met a couple of Nigerian guys there, and they had been there for 25 years, and I'm like, wow, I'll be doing this for 25 years. Not
So
me.
hold on. You met a few. Oh, somebody said you're not audible. Maybe we'll try to speak up. So you said you met a couple of Nigerians in that same place that had been
Yeah.
there for 5 years.
Yes, 25 to
25 years working in.
25, 25 years. They said they've been there for that long, and they were even showing it to each other and say, "Oh, another Nigerian has joined us." I'm like, not me.
Mm.
I'm not one of you, you know. And in doing that, I had to quit the job. I think I worked as a transcriptionist. No, I'm sure I did as a transcriptionist for Google through a third party as well. But after that, I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted to do. So I started to look for jobs in quality assurance, which was the experience I was bringing from Nigeria. And again, got into another kind of situation where I was in a class and it was like, oh, you have to lie on your resume to be able to get that job. And
Hmm.
I'm like, no, but I don't have to lie. I actually have this
You
experience.
have it, yeah.
Why do I have to lie? So I was the non-conformist at that point in time, and I chose uh, the alternate path where everyone was facing the direction of if you're not lying. Again, the thought to me was, why did I leave Nigeria? Why did I cross the seven seas to come here to continue that Nigerian thing where you feel like you have to do something wrong to get something right?
Hmm.
And I was like, no, that's not me. So I kept plugging away. I was applying to jobs, and it was at that point I learned the art of interviewing. I knew that every job post that you see out there, it's not so much about the skills, it's about your knowledge of interviewing, how best you can interview, how best you understand the interviewing process. It was then this was after like hundreds of applications. I think
Hmm.
in total within the 3 months So from August that I landed to November, I was always applying to QA jobs. I think I put in like 700 applications. And, and the 700 is just a useless number because I was not targeting the jobs. You know, I see a job, I click on it on Indeed or LinkedIn
You see,
without actually thinking about it. You
mm,
know, I had to, it was when I started to get purposeful and intentional about the roles. I'll take the JD, I'll add the keywords to my resume. That was when I started to get calls. That was when I started to get interviews. So the phase was, oh, I was applying, no calls. Then I started to be intentional. I was getting calls, but no actual interviews. Then I
mm,
was getting interviews, it wasn't turning into jobs. But
mm.
eventually, the one that stood out, I applied as an intern, a QA intern, and I got the call from the interview, and they were like, "Oh, why are you doing this to yourself? You're more qualified than this." Like, I'm exasperated. I'm tired. I've been applying. Just give me anything. And they said,
Mm.
"Go and then we're going to upgrade you." And the rest of
Wow.
it.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even know that, you know. Like I knew that, you know, I knew some parts of it, but I didn't know the full thing because I know that just a little bit of a background of how I and Abimbola met. We're on this on one of this support groups together, and then me, I'm always planning all these different things, Thanksgiving, game night. So I got somebody to host us for Thanksgiving, and then we just invited people from the group, and then that's how I met Abimbola and his wife. At that time my husband was still in Nigeria, so you know at that time I know when you introduced yourself you mentioned about the factory and you know how you're looking, and it was pretty much that same month, no,
Yeah,
October, November.
yeah. It
It
was
was
the following week.
yeah, so it was around that same month that everything changed.
Yeah,
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Everybody in the comments are like 700 applications. What? See, that is just the truth. Like people apply for 100 jobs a day. Like it's and that doesn't even mean you get an interview. That doesn't even mean you get. You have to. It has to be tailored. It has to be specific. We'll go into all of that in future. You know, applying for jobs and things like that. But so from there, you've now basically I want to talk about it in such a way that it's a big break. That one break that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how did it launch you into so many different, because now you've worked in large corporations and you're just going from one to the
I'm
other
just
to
a
the
small
other,
boy.
and they are giving you multiple offers and you're like, what? This one pays more, but let me go with this one. Can you tell us how that now tell us how it now launched you into everything that you are now?
So I think after getting the job where I got my break, I still was not satisfied with that role because yes, I did apply as an intern and I was upgraded to like a mid-level QA, but it was still part of the stereotypes that I experienced where they felt like, oh, because you're from Nigeria, you don't know anything and all of that. And I was saying, oh, and the joke I would be making then was, oh, use your resources, use your HR. You have a talent wasting away here. You guys will see me on TV someday and you'll be like, I used to know that guy. And I will tell them because we know where they're from. They're they're from East Asia. Let me just put it that way. And out of everyone, out of everyone on that floor, I used to make a joke with them as well and say, you know, one of the toughest things being here in this company is I cannot afford to commit a crime because when they come and they just describe me, they just do that. That's in there, right?
Because
Very,
you're basically the only black guy.
I was the only, well, I don't like to use the word black, but yes, I was the only melanated person
Okay.
on the floor in the entire, well, for a long while, I was the only person that is black
Mm.
within the organization until a couple of other people joined. And when I see them, I'll be like, yes. In my mind, I'll say
Small
yes.
organization, by the way.
In the entire organization until much later, things started to, I mean, sorry, not the entire organization, that building,
That okay.
that, that particular building. There were three other buildings around that area that had more black folks.
Okay.
But on that particular one, I was the only one, and it was really like, oh, I look around and I see extractions from East Asia, um, uh, Eastern Europe and the rest of them. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so no one looks like me here. Okay,
Yeah.
I better face my job. So it was,
You better do well, because so that's one thing that you guys note, that a lot of organizations here, even some large organizations,
mhm,
you will enter and you will see that more. Now only me will be black person for you.
for a long time, yeah.
This organization of 5,000 people, I'm the
True.
only black male. I'm the
Hmm.
only black female. It happens a lot. A
Yeah,
lot. There'll be other people, like other ethnic groups, like there'll be other people from Asia, from different places. But that black, oh, there are many times that you'll be the only black person in an
yeah,
organization, only black person in a branch, in a is it happens. And that comes also with a feeling of tokenism, to feel
yeah.
like, did they hire me just so that they can say yes, they have one black person as well?
Mm.
Or did they hire me because I deserve it? So that's another topic that we'll even go into, because that is a problem that a lot of new immigrants face. When you come and you see that, I'm the only black, if they didn't hire me so that they can just tick the diversity box and be
Yeah,
able to claim that they are diverse, because
correct.
diversity and inclusion is such a big deal in Canada. It's a bragging right.
Hmm.
So okay, let's go into the next one. So how did your I know how did your family adjust to the move here? Was there any specific thing that you guys found it difficult to adjust to, you know?
There are no specific, everything was run of the mill. We took it in our stride, and as much as we can, we adjusted when it was required.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I internalize a lot when I'm dealing with issues, so I really don't share until I see the end of it. Then I can now start to talk about it. There are months for the almost 1 year I was at that company that gave me my big break. There are months that I would be devastated because of the way I was treated amongst those East Asians, where I felt like the kind of the role I was given should offer more. And inside of me, I would be sad, inconsolable. At some point, the breaking point for me, to go back to that question I asked, the breaking point, I'm really competitive. Yeah, I might not talk as much, but I'm really competitive. And the breaking point for me was when my manager then gave me 2.5 over 5. And I was like, she now said, oh, the reason why I'm giving you this score is because the senior colleagues or your senior colleagues in the team said that this is what your score should be. And like, but you are the manager, you barely are in the office. So why would you rely on other people? What if they don't like my face? What if they don't like my person? I should be the judgment for this performance should be on the job that I do, not my person. So that was the breaking point. That was the straw, the last straw that broke my back. And at that point, what I decided to do was take a job in another warehouse to kind of cushion the effect in case I'm let go of. So in my head, I'm like, I don't want to be in a place where um, I'm being helped with a job. I don't want to I don't want to tick your diversity quota. I don't want to feel like every day I'm going to work grudgingly. And because you spend most of your time awake at work, and it's somewhere where you should be happy doing what you're doing. I did my best. I did the little I can or I could back then to be able to make a mark. In fact, I was more friends with people outside my team than within my team because they were not speaking English for most part. And
Mm,
it was one of the frustrations that I had because from top to bottom, it was the same extraction in terms of where they are from. So
so
even if you
speak
report
the
to
language and you
exactly,
to be
if,
left out.
even if you report to HR, it's still the same country,
That the
basically.
person is
So,
from, that HR is from, all of them are from the same place.
true. At some point, I started to pick up on the language, and I was like, "Oh, is this what you mean?" And they were like, "Oh, wow!" So that kind of brought me back into the fold. I could speak a little
Hmm.
Chalo, by and all of that. I'm like, oh, this person is one person to watch out for. So at that point, I said no, not anymore. In my head, I'd resigned. I'd left the job. I was just going there to
Hmm.
market register. So my big break came while I was working. In fact, when I was working in the warehouse, I injured my elbow, both elbows, because when they're offloading things can fall. So
Hmm.
I was trying to break the fall like this with my elbow, and that was how I injured my elbow. But I still kept on going. I still pressed on, and it was really tough. In
Hmm.
fact, I usually would joke that most of the strands of gray hair that you see on my hair, it was from that period. It was really 2018 was really tough. 2018 slash early 2019 was really tough for me. But it molded me, and in doing that, I got my break when I got a call from one. And while I was still at that job, I would be applying to other jobs out of
Yes, now.
frustration.
Oh,
What
yeah.
do you want?
That's
I
the goal
don't
for
even
you
care
guys. Listen,
anymore.
no, don't just vex and resign, no, from any job. That's it.
Exactly.
Me,
I
I've done
was,
that before, and
no,
it was not a good idea.
no,
I had one employer that, God, that that is Jesus that saved me. Okay, that one is story for another day because it
exactly.
was spiritual. Let me tell you, spiritual. It was a spiritual environment. I had to run out. I had to beg God to give me a sign. If this is not for me, let me go.
I mean,
so
I too did that.
so me, I resigned without any other option because it was
Mhm.
a spiritual something. But if it's not a spiritual thing, ah, just in fact, hold on, be calm, and then start applying to other jobs before you actually resign. Oh yeah, please go ahead.
So when I was doing that, I was applying, I was doing the job, and when this big break came, it was IBM, and I was not expecting it. I was not even interested in the job at first. I thought it was a continuation of my role as performance engineer, and I was like, it's not something I wanted to do. And then they said, oh, you know what? We want you to submit your resume as a security analyst or something like that. At the end of the day, I did grudgingly like, do you know how many applications I've submitted only for someone to now be telling me no show or something like that. So they called me and I was literally in tears when I got the call. Like,
Hmm.
so this is it. This is over. And when they told me how much it was, I'm like,
I
wow.
remember that. I remember that day.
I was like me, like from this to this,
Hmm.
and from then on, it was up from there. It was
Yes.
up. I did not look back because I was really grateful for that opportunity. I was really thankful. And if I was competitive before, my competition or the competitiveness in me has tripled
Hmm.
from then on. So one of the again one thing that was really profound and I'll mention is I was not the most qualified candidate, but when it came to the interview, because I'd learned from my experience in the past doing like over close to that amount of applications, I've understood that when you're speaking to recruiters, this is what they want to hear. These are the keywords that you should be hitting on like that when you see a job. So I've gotten to that point where I've carved a niche for myself. When I see a job, I can take it apart and say, oh, this is rubbish. This is what you should pay attention to. This is what you should look at.
Hmm.
And when I tailored my resume, I heard that other candidates um, went there over a couple of days and still they did not pick them. I did my interview that same day over the phone without video, and in 1 hour they decided that they were going to hire me.
Ah, there was no in-person
I
interview.
wasn't in person, and this was pre-COVID, so
Ah, this was like a year ago, right? At least
yeah,
a year ago.
over. Yeah,
Over a
but
year.
in September, no, yeah, thereabout.
So
Yeah,
so
in
so
July.
how long were you in Canada at that time when you had that big break? How long?
I was just a little shy of 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And from there. You guys already know it's
No,
coming.
it was under 1 year.
Under 1 year, right? Yeah,
Under
yeah.
1 year.
Figured. So a little, yeah, just about 1 year in Canada,
Mhm.
landed that big break, and from
Yeah.
there it's up, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't like at that point you just keep going up, and that's what I tell people. You know, when you're about to give up, don't give up. You just need that one big break. When you get that one big break, they will be rushing you. It's people you will be getting head hunted. Like they will be sending. You're laughing because they will be sending you messages on LinkedIn that we have this opportunity. Are you interested?
Yep.
That's how it is. Once you've gotten that one big break, that's how it is. So nobody should give up. Just that's just the journey, right? It's part of the journey. Okay, so other than the ones you've mentioned now, have you experienced like racism here in Canada?
Subtle racism, yes.
What do
Not
you mean subtle racism?
not blatant. Microaggressions here and there, and there will be situations like, oh, are you here as PR? Are you here? What's your business? How is that's my response basically has been how I would say thank you for that question. I usually will take the opportunity to school them and say, oh, thank you for that question, but how is it related to this job role? It
Mm,
usually will come from recruiters because that was my interaction for most points for that point because I wouldn't go out as much, so I won't say I've experienced racism. I did experience some form of what's the cat calling is for females, right? I don't know the one for male. So I was going downtown Brampton one time, actually twice, and it was a question of some girls in the crowd. They saw them like, "What? What a piece of art! Tell us your name, yo. Do you want to come up? Do you want to come along with us?" I'm like,
oh my god.
okay. I didn't know whether to run or to stop.
That's harassment.
Like, okay. This is why I don't like to go out. Let me just sit inside my house. Anyway, so in terms of microaggression, it usually will be in terms of denial of service, where you will go into a store and instead of them, the way you could tell that you are being treated differently.
Mm,
So when you go somewhere, they will be like, oh, the requirement that they will ask of you or from you will be more than maybe the other skin color. And I usually use that to be even more. So instead of getting angry, I would learn from that, understand that these people don't know any better,
mm,
and use that as a learning point for myself. I
mm,
can be upset maybe for a period of time, but when I'm able to consolidate in my head and say, maybe next time this is how to approach the issue, I would wait patiently, do what I need to do. You can't deny me service as far as I'm concerned. I would stay here as long as is required and necessary, you know, for all intents and purposes, and get what I need to get done. So far, I'm not behaving rudely and not talking loudly. What is important is to be patient. You will definitely experience stuff like that, and be thankful if you don't. If you do, it makes you stronger. It makes you tougher mentally, and there are times that you would even experience worse than I have experienced. But in dealing with it, I think I just read more about their culture and
mm.
how unwelcoming certain parts of their extraction can be. So for me, that's how I've been able to really deal with those kind of microaggressions.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. So let me quickly just um give a few names for the IELTS sponsorship. So I already mentioned, in case you missed your name, one, Bukumi Adebanjo, two, Fatima Lawal, three, Samantha Johnson. So four is Bisi Olatunde, five is Mayowa Egbeyemi. Okay, and there are three people left, but we'll leave that to the end. So Abimbola, we're going to go into a Q&A, but before we go into the Q&A, just for people that are in IT or that have questions, um, this question is, what are the top tips that you have for new immigrants?
If you are not driven before, I think one of the things you need to learn to do is to find your support system. I don't expect that what worked for me would work for the next person. Some people try by having people surrounding them. I try by ruminating on issues by myself and being able to come to a conclusion. In fact, when it gets to a point, I'm like, I'll figure it out. I don't know what to do at that point in time, but something would align at that point and say, oh, yes, this is it, this is what I need to do. Some other people need to consult others and say, oh, how do you navigate this kind of situation? Another tip will be once you land or before you land, align yourself with the group of Nigerians. I know as Nigerians, we find it difficult to trust each other, but again, there are valuable information out there in the groups, in the Nigerian groups. So if you are facing any issue, drop a message. Someone might just be experiencing the same thing or might have gone through that same situation. Um, my another tip I will have is please read, read, read. It can be anything and everything. I mean, these days I spend my time on Reddit trying to understand what goes on in the mind of the white people. Like, how do they think? What is different from what we do and them? And I find out that it's not really that much, to be honest. We still find pockets of people here and there that would say stuff that they should not say and all of that, but read anything and everything to try and understand your new environment, the new climate that you're getting into. Um, Again, if you need to decide on a career path, I think first and foremost choose the path that you want to follow. You don't have to follow what Mr. A says or what Mrs. F says. What is important is that you know it for yourself that this is what you want to do. And the reason why I say that is um, it won't be difficult to motivate you at that point. If you're able to say this is the niche that I want to carve for myself, this is the path that I want to follow, it won't be too difficult to motivate you. But if you are joining the bandwagon, I will give you a bit of context here. So in Nigeria, what will happen is Mr. A is selling beans. Therefore, Mrs. B starts to sell beans. Nobody thinks about, oh, okay, what can go with beans? Gary now, or what can we use with? Why don't I sell rice? You don't have to lie down and sleep and face the same direction as everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Be willing to make the difficult choices. Be willing to follow your career path from Nigeria. And then one of the reasons why I came here was being able to say. If I decide on any career path, I want to be the best in that career path. So that's why making a decision early on in a career path is really important. So ask questions, please. Don't hesitate. This is a new breed of Nigerians, the ones that we have in Canada here, and majority of the Canadians that are here, I think we came in around the same period within 2017, 2018. So it's really is really profound when you start to ask questions, when you start to see that people are actually making it, they are doing well for themselves. So it's important to ask questions, it's important to read, it's important to have a cool head so that you can be able to understand the culture of the people here as well. And be willing to try new things. So don't be stuck up on Nigerian things or Nigerian culture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good points. Thank you. So, we're going to throw it open for the Q&A now. So, I guess people who are in IT, I actually got one question asking what are the lucrative parts of IT? Because people say, oh, IT is in demand, IT is in demand. But quite frankly, there are a lot of people here with IT degrees that are not even able to get the kind of jobs that they want because the market is so saturated. For those of you guys who don't know, both me and Abimbola are in Ontario. So in Ontario, everybody has a degree. Everybody has, not everybody, obviously, that's an exaggeration, but a lot of people are well educated.
Yeah.
Canadians, foreigners, immigrants, a lot of people are well educated. So you're competing for the same jobs. Yes, the jobs are there. There are many in Ontario, but there are so many applying for the same jobs. So, what part of IT is the really in demand one that they really need people?
That's a tough one to call because I can say it's A to B, and when you go and check, or before you go and check, it's wrong. So I would not attempt to answer that question. However, what I would attempt to do is to say, as part of the previous question that you asked earlier, in terms of guidance, the onus still lies on the person first to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I need to do. And it will be easier to say, okay, in choosing this path, these are the things that you should consider. These are the things that you should start to look at. For jobs in demand, I remember speaking to a recruiter when it was the height of COVID back then. And I think I was asking on I was asking for a friend. I was asking for a friend indeed back then who was looking out for PM roles. And one of the roles that I heard that was in demand is cybersecurity, uh, business analysis, and quality assurance. Those you can't go wrong. However, minus the first one, the bottom two are quite saturated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you need to do, because that market is saturated, is to start to set yourself apart. In being a QA, you can be an automation engineer. You can be an SDET, meaning you're a software developer in test. Those are paths that you can follow. You can be an API tester. You can be an API engineer. You can be a performance tester, performance engineer. Those are different levels to it. That's why I say it's really important for you to define what you want. There's DevOps, there's database administration. Those roles cannot go out of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Cloud related jobs, AWS related, Azure related, those are jobs that are in demand. And even if you don't have the knowledge right now, there are free courses out there that you can take. And like Tunde Tash usually will put on his Twitter, he has a plethora of good resources out there where it would say, oh, if you are looking for this, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. But for me as an individual, what I would say is important is define what you want for yourself. If it's business analysis that you need to do, apart from doing CBAP, which is the certification for business analysis, start to look at being an agilist, agile practitioner, becoming a product owner. Those are things that you can do to set yourself apart. In terms of becoming or joining IT security, there are several domains in IT security. There's voice and communication security. There's network security. There's forensics. Is not getting a lot of love. So that's one that people should really look into. And forensics specialists are required at the bank by the police.
Yeah.
Um, what's it called? I mean, you remember the time when I said I wanted to join the military. There's jobs in the military. You can join the army, but you will have to wait 3 years after getting there.
Mm.
You can join the police. There are roles there. I mean, even the civil service here, I was surprised that they have quite a number of IT roles, IT related roles. As a project manager or someone who is into project management, or if you've not even found your feet yet, you can start out with project coordinator roles. Those are things that you can do. But one of the top roles in demand is IT security, no doubt, for sure. And there's still a shortfall of about 2 million resources required for that in Canada, even with the population less than 50 million. You'll be surprised that the number of roles out there, uh, there's still roles to be filled, and we can be better. You know how East Asians are taking over quality assurance, we can
Mm-hmm.
take over IT security. So that's why I say I would not attempt to answer that because I'll be answering from a place of bias. So
Mm.
yes, there are other roles, HR. What's the name again? their financial roles, being a financial auditor, you'll be surprised the number of jobs out there for people to take up. But first and foremost, you need to get your interviewing skills right.
Yeah. Someone is asking, what about IT audit?
IT audit is one that I'm also passionate about. I would say if you don't have experience from Nigeria, you can take the CISA certification. That will give you some form of leverage. Although you will not get the CISA designation, you get CISA passed, which is good enough to get started. That means you should be looking at companies like Deloitte, the top one, basically.
Okay.
But they will work you. Be sure of that.
You will work for that money.
So,
Okay, so are there any other like IT certifications that you think are like respected here in Canada?
uh, you're putting me on the spot.
No, because like with project management, for example, like me, I have the PMP, but
Yeah.
PMP in Europe is not really all that. They respect more of Prince 2, which is another project management certification.
Correct.
So I know there are some that are popular here.
Mhm.
I just don't know if they're also popular in Nigeria and people would have to work towards them. Um,
Again, thank you for that. Again, it goes back to being focused on the role. If you have a role in mind, then I'll be able to say, oh, I think you should consider this kind of for PMs. Oh wow, my battery is low. let
oh,
me let me run and get my charger. No, I'm just setting up here. So
okay.
uh,
I'll just announce the rest of the winners.
yes, please.
Okay, so while Abimbola has gone to get his charger, we're running, we're almost done, but the remaining three winners for the IELTS sponsorship are as follows. Um, Rotimi Alabi, Tamara Uche, Vic Versa. So congrats to you guys. If you won, please drop a comment. Let's know that you're here. But yeah, congrats. I'm super excited for you guys. I'll be crediting your account. Please don't be angry if I don't reply your messages on time. I'll reply before to at least by tomorrow. I'll reply and credit your account. Today I have a lot of things to do, so that's why I might not be able to see your messages today. But I also have a little cherry on top. Just a little cherry on top. It was, like I said, it was very hard to pick 8 people. Um, so I have 2 other names that they wouldn't be full IELTS sponsorships, but at least it will be a cash gift towards their IELTS. So stay tuned till the end for that. I'll just mention 2 other names. So are there any other questions for Abimbola that you guys have? Somebody asked about UI UX design. Is that a big thing here?
Yes, it's really something that I would recommend for people who have graphics design skill. That's a good way for someone like that to make a foray into the IT space. So yes, I would say that it's good for you to know how to use, at the very least, Figma. Figma is good for UI UX. It's a good starting point for that. So yes, I support that 100%.
Okay, yeah, and I agree because even just recently, I heard of somebody that got a job from Nigeria, and it
Yeah,
was by UX. I was like, as hard as it is to get a job from Nigeria. So every time people ask me, "Oh, is UI UX?" and I'm like, yes, it is, oh, because
it really is.
getting a job from outside is quite. So that means that they don't really have people in here that
Mhm.
that can do it, and then they don't mind doing the extra documentation to bring somebody from outside.
Yes.
So that's good. Okay, so I think that's all we have for the questions. People are asking different ones. Abimbola, can you look at the comments? Anyone that shouts out to you with regards like IT that you have any tips on?
Oh, it's actually scrolling. So
Okay. Um, but yeah.
okay, so I see data analysis. Yes, data analysis is getting bigger.
Yeah.
Being a data scientist, data analyst, I think I remember the where that skill is used. I can't remember again. for a while. When were talking about when I was talking about business analysis, I wanted to mention it. Yes, it's really good. I think being a data analyst, you need to learn how to use R, which is the alternative to Python. Um, R is simpler to take up than Python. So yes, data analysis is one skill that is really in demand, and you will be surprised how quick you get a job with that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's true. So someone's asking about software development. I know that's also one that is hot cake.
yeah, it's hot cake. You won't it won't take long for you to find a job.
And
Take that.
what about the language? Like what language should they
Be
be?
There are several languages these days. Be good in the one that you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can go from Java to Python, but again, of what use is it to collect all of the knowledge in all of the languages and not know how to use one?
You have to be a
Take
man.
the one talent that God has given you.
What about
Yes,
GIS developers or GIS analysts?
I'm not too familiar with that
Me
space,
neither.
so I do know that there are certifications for that. One way you can start working your way up. I think we had this discussion before when I was confused and I was at the crossroad. I said I wanted to become a plumber. I still have.
They're laughing, but plumbers make a lot of money.
I know they do,
Hmm.
but one thing that you would not understand is the bureaucracy involved to becoming certified. So
Eh,
you have to go from journeyman to
eh,
I researched this thing
to
to
become a
become,
plumber.
yes, before you become a plumber. So they do make a lot of money, no doubt. They cash out
Yeah.
big time, but there's a gray area there that you also have to know someone that knows someone there.
No, well, but can we talk about that for a moment? How that applies to Canada as well? Because a lot of people feel like that's a Nigerian thing. Just
Oh
be
no, it's
eh,
also here as well.
bam.
It's
Hmm.
also here. Many of the job roles you see out there. I'm speaking out. I'm speaking candidate. Many of the job roles that you see out there, you would think that oh they have this one, that one. They've actually filled up the role. What they are doing is to fulfill all righteousness when it comes to um, compliance issues. So they would have filled up the role, they'll put out the job role or job advert out there, and at the end of the day, before you get there, they feel you see that they don't even respond. So just know that
Preferred
that's what happened.
candidates. I've said this on my channel
Exactly.
before. Preferred candidates. They already
Mm-hmm.
know who they want to hire. They've even hired the person.
They
The
hire the
role is
person.
just the posting is just for decoration. It happens. So referrals are a big deal when you come network. Very important.
Very hard.
Um okay, so let me just round up this session by giving two names. So these two people I also did a random selection for just to drop something because it was very hard for me to just pick 8 people and move on. So one is Olamide Erinle. Sorry if I don't know if it's Erinle or Erinle. Olamide Erinle, congrats. You've won 20,000 naira towards your IELTS sponsorship. And next person is Awojobi Sheyi. You've also won 20,000 naira towards your IELTS sponsorship. So I'm sorry you didn't win the full thing. It's just, these are two additional people that I'm adding just because, we need to do as much as we can, basically. Okay, well, thank you very much, Abimbola.
There's a question that pops up here, so I don't know if we still have time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Please
Someone
go ahead.
said that what were the challenges you went through during experience entry? So you know how Nigerians would want to change passport details
Oh,
and all of that. I actually changed mine back because it was not me that changed my passport details then
yeah. Some people have
and
it.
all of that. I changed mine back to match the current, what's it called? You know how people would reduce age and all of that to be able to apply to the
Hmm.
UK and the US. That was part of what happened. So I was refused to the UK, to the US, and to Spain a couple of times. Once to Spain, US, and UK a couple of times. And at some point, it got to a point where the UK said, if I continue to do this, I will be banned for 10 years. So I had to come all out and say, oh, this is what happened. It wasn't me, it was my people that were trying to get me into this thing,
Mm.
and they used an agent. And I'm coming all out to acknowledge that yes, that had happened before, but it's not a reflection of what I wanted to do.
Mm.
It was all in the pressure and in bid to want to get out of the country. That being said, I did not have all of the documentation required at the appropriate time, so it was mostly using a letter of explanation to say, oh, for this gap, this was it. And I think when I finished school, there was no gap. It was just that immediately I finished school, I started to work. In fact, before finishing school, I started to work I worked in a couple of TV stations before moving into uh, hospitality, before moving into IT. And the challenges there was I did not have letter of employment from that time.
Mm.
So all I did was just show claim for that period that I wanted to apply the 3 years. They would say 3 years or more.
Yeah.
So what I did then, I think I mistakenly uploaded one of the forms, and it came back as Schedule A, explain why this. So I had to do like a lot of other explanation. I can't really remember how that slipped in, but that was one of the things that I really went through during that period. I remember exactly the PPR came in. It was July. It was June 18th. I submitted December 6th. I got the response, and yes, my passport expired. That's another one. During the process, I thought that it was me just being silly. I thought that because they said 6 months expiration is what was required,
Yeah.
and all of that. So I put in my passport like that because of the difficulties of getting another passport. So I decided to like submit with faith and say, oh, I claimed 3 months PPR. I'm like, huh, this is risky. So thankfully they did not reject my application. They sent it back and said, oh, send in a new passport. So which I did. And 1 week later, remember I submitted December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
On June 5th, I got that passport update, and then after that, it was PPR, and it was really a traumatizing time. It was really
Yeah. I
traumatizing.
can imagine, and that's even the good part of express entry. It's not like a lot of other things, a lot of other applications where if your things are not complete, they just send everything back to you and that's it, denied.
Mhm.
This one, if they require more information, they will ask you for it.
Yes.
So yeah, so they'll ask for you get an additional documentation request ADR, and then you can now provide more proof or more details and all of that. So yeah, so that's definitely a good one.
So one more question I'd like to address is say what other handwork can someone learn? I won't say handwork, I would say maybe you should do craft. Plumbing is really big. Becoming a DIY handyman is also good. Home staging, you can also make entrance or try out the real estate market. Uh,
I'll say flooring.
yeah, flooring,
Yeah,
tiling as
hardwood
well.
floor,
H,
tile.
HVAC repair or HVAC specialists. Those are opportunities. In fact, those ones are better to do than to go to the warehouse and stand endlessly and all of that. So yes, those are things that you should consider. Not the typical tailoring and hairdressing. I mean, not to knock anyone that does that. That I feel is also saturated,
It's
but I
saturated.
think we can make our mark in those other fields as well. Plumbing, home staging, no stress. Just go and look for furniture. If you have interior decor ideas, they will come to you and say, "Oh,
Mm.
help us make this house empty space look good." Or even if it's not empty, they can say, "Help us do like a redesign of that space and all of that. So people are cashing out in that. They use that as side also as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's something that we should also consider when we're coming in.
And if there's anything, even like the arts and crafts, like you said, if you make jewelry, you make beads, you make things like headgear, different things. See, if you make anything, you can sell anything on Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah,
Kijiji.ca, anything you make, all your skills should be a stream of income. As I am right now, I have a photo shoot at 4 o'clock. I'm going.
after this meeting, I have my own side hustle.
So you see, everybody, no matter what your 9 to 5 is, no matter, everybody has their side hustle, their skills that they're putting to good use to make money, right?
Yeah,
So someone is asking about electrical wiring. That one, I think,
yeah,
is kind of
that's also good.
you
That's
have
really
to
good.
be licensed,
Yes,
right?
you have
So
to.
just
You
go
have
through
to
the
be licensed and you need to have insurance.
yeah, so you just go through the licensing process. All these things are big money here. Like, no skill is small. Being a mechanic is not a small job. Like, it's really, really good income. I mean, but like, is there any other question that is jumping out to you? Someone asked me what I do. I'm a project management professional in the financial services industry, and I'm
Mhm.
also a photographer and a YouTuber.
Someone was asking me here, why have I not considered consultancy? Um, I
But
did. I
information
was
consulting.
no, like security.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was a consultant at IBM. That period, I was a contractor and slash consultant then, and I noticed that the big companies, the Fortune 500s and the likes of them, they don't pay well as much as anything. They would rather pay consultants, and what will happen is the permanent employees will start to detest you because of that on that basis. So for me, it was a strategic move to go back to full time and stay there for like about 2 years or so, consolidate on whatever I need to learn, uh, part of which I've achieved now. And I mean, in the coming future, or in coming years, I hope to. I'm working on a couple of other things behind the scenes, and hopefully we'll be back here to do a proper launch. And we'll see, we'll see. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag before someone beheads me. Uh,
Oh my god!
we'll come
And
back
that's
here.
someone that is talking about is I am my husband.
We'll come back. We'll
Me
come
and
back here.
Abimbola became friends first, and then all of a sudden, my husband moved to Canada and he just snatched Abimbola from my hand. So now me and Obi now, Abimbola's wife, we are left together. They put us to one side.
I don't know
Me
what
and
you're
I.
talking about. Did I say anything? Did I say anything?
Well done, Obi. Don't worry. We'll plan our own meetup very soon. Okay, anyway, it was very, very nice talking with you, Abimbola. Very nice chatting, and you've dropped a lot of important information for people in this field and even for people outside IT. And, Abimbola, obviously, God day. But yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abimbola, for coming on and sharing your story. Patience. If there's anything to learn from your story, it's patience and perseverance and being
Yes.
intentional about your steps. It's
Mhm.
very, very important. So thank you for coming in and sharing that information to people so that they can be inspired and motivated, and really just see the reality of things. You
Yeah.
had your IT experience from Nigeria. You came, and even though IT is a big field here, it took some time to launch in, and you took some deliberate steps that helped you, and you've shared that with us today. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, we'll probably see sometime soon.
Sure.
And then yeah, thanks everybody for joining the live. Congrats to all the winners of the IELTS sponsorship. This video is going to be going up on the channel so people can go and rewatch. If you weren't here to hear your name, you probably will hear now that you're watching. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in my next live next week
Thank
Saturday.
you.
Abimbola, see you.
Ciao, ciao. All right.
All
Take
right,
care.
bye.
Bye.